It was a sunny afternoon in the quiet suburban neighborhood. John Miller, a retired Navy SEAL, and his wife, Emily, were enjoying a peaceful walk around their community when things took a shocking turn. Two men in fake HOA uniforms appeared out of nowhere, blocking their path. Emily, wearing a light blue dress, instinctively stepped behind John. "A step aside. You're violating HOA rules," one of the men barked, pretending to be an authority figure. Emily questioned their legitimacy, asking for identification, but the men laughed dismissively. Before John could react, one of them shoved Emily hard against the wall, causing her to stumble. Then, in a shocking act of aggression, the second man slapped her across the face. Emily froze in shock, her hand touching her cheek, stunned and humiliated. Neighbors began to peek out from their windows, whispering among themselves. John's blood boiled, but he kept calm at first. He observed the fake officers carefully, noting their posture and demeanor, assessing the situation. Years of military training kicked in. John knew that while restraint was important, he could not allow these men to continue abusing his wife. He whispered to Emily, "Stay behind me. I've got this." The fake officers continued to mock her, using her moment of fear as a way to assert dominance. "You think you can ignore HOA rules? You need to learn respect," one sneered. But Emily stayed quiet, trusting her husband. John's mind raced not just with anger, but with strategy. He knew he couldn't just lash out recklessly. He had to neutralize the threat efficiently, ensuring his wife's safety and teaching the attackers a lesson they would never forget. After the initial confrontation, John guided Emily to the side of the street, out of reach of the aggressive fake officers. He took a deep breath, his calm exterior hiding the storm inside. His eyes scanned the area cars were parked nearby. A few neighbors were watching from their windows, and the men had not moved from their positions. John's military instincts allowed him to read the situation perfectly. He whispered to Emily, "Don't worry, they won't touch you again. I'll handle this." Emily nodded, trembling but reassured by his presence. John's experience as a Navy SEAL taught him the value of patience, observation, and precise action. He knew that a direct confrontation without planning could escalate dangerously, but ignoring the aggression was not an option in Veliger the Bredi or Shurad. While pretending to step back, John subtly positioned himself so he could respond immediately if the attackers tried anything again. He noted the fake officers' body language, their weaknesses, and any overconfidence they were displaying. Every movement they made gave him more information about how to neutralize the threat quickly. Meanwhile, Emily, despite being shaken, tried to maintain composure. She knew her husband's training meant he had the situation under control. Neighbors were starting to murmur, some reaching for their phones to record the incident, adding pressure on the fake officers. John realized that public exposure could work in their favor, making the aggressors hesitant if he acted smartly. In these tense minutes, John's mind mapped out a clear plan. Protect Emily, avoid serious injury to anyone, but make sure the fake officers would never harass anyone again. His calm demeanor masked a readiness to act, demonstrating the quiet power of experience and preparation. The fake officers laughed again, mocking Emily, not realizing that John had positioned himself perfectly. "You don't belong here," one said, stepping closer. That was all it took. John moved with precision, blocking their advance. In a controlled but forceful motion, he restrained one man, using leverage in his training to subdue him without causing permanent harm. The other man lunged at him, but John anticipated the move, deflecting and bringing him down safely. Neighbors gasped and some started filming. The fake officers' smirks vanished as they realized they had underestimated John. His movements were efficient, calm, and decisive, every action designed to protect his wife and neutralize the threat. Emily stayed behind him, watching as the man who had slapped her realized that his attempt to intimidate had backfired catastrophically. John's voice was firm and controlled. "Leave my wife alone. Now wife alone." Now, the message was clear. Aggression and disrespected consequences. The attackers were trapped, physically and reputationally, by the precise and skilled actions of someone trained to handle dangerous situations. By the end of the confrontation, both fake officers were incapacitated, just enough to prevent further harassment. They were shaken, embarrassed, and fully aware that their arrogance and aggression had led to immediate consequences. John ensured that his wife remained completely safe throughout the ordeal, demonstrating protective skill, control, and authority. Once the attackers were subdued, John helped Emily step forward. The neighbors who had been watching began to applaud and call authorities. The fake officers were forced to retreat, humiliated and exposed, their faces showing regret and disbelief. Emily looked at her husband, relief washing over her. "Thank you," she whispered, tears in her eyes. John remained calm, ensuring that the situation ended without serious harm. The incident became a story within the community, how a Navy SEAL husband protected his wife against unlawful harassment and aggression. The fake HOA officers' arrogance and violence were met with precise discipline and effective resistance. Emily's confidence returned as she realized that standing behind someone prepared and skilled could turn humiliation into empowerment. The neighborhood learned a lesson. Intimidation and false authority could not triumph over courage, training, and love. John's actions reminded everyone that true power is not in uniforms or threats, but in discipline, skill, and the willingness to act when it matters most. The couple walked home together, united and stronger than ever, leaving behind a vivid example of justice and protection for the entire community.